Hi guys, so this video is on whether people with personality disorders can have healthy relationships, and if they can't, should they just be alone? So this was something that I was discussing with someone yesterday, and it just came up for me that I think that people who have disorders should like, okay, that is an impediment, it is an obstacle for them to have a healthy relationship, but at the same time, I don't think they deserve to be alone for like whenever their recovery happens, just because someone else abused them. And I also think it's like not our fault the way we are. Okay, there is like a certain amount of responsibility we can take, and that is like the gap between our disorder and who we are, and we can sort of make that wider and go into that and explore that. But at the same time, it's not our fault that all this happened to us at a really young age and we developed these patterns of behavior. And I don't think taking responsibility is really like the solution. You can sort of become conscious of what you're doing and not doing by considering what are the consequences of your actions, and sort of trying to not be as impulsive. So another thing I want to discuss is that this has not been researched, but from my own experience and findings, I think that people with BPD tend to be like, they develop part of that, and a part of that is because of relationship trauma, but also the other part is because of like their own sort of being ashamed of themselves, and like sort of channeling that into just like sexual activity or impulsive activity or addictive behaviors. So I just want to comment on that like, and I thought about not sort of bringing this up because I was just like, what are people going to think of me? Are they going to think that I am all full of myself? Because usually they think that, especially like if a woman tends to like say, okay, this is how I've experienced life, this is my experience, and there people are like, no, oh my god, why, this can't be happening, I'm sure it's not that bad, I'm sure it's not like that, but they can't really say for someone else's experience, so how can they say I'm sure it's not like that? So yeah, so okay, so I think that people with BPD, either they have this like allure, or I think it's because so they have this ability, and this is why people like them so much in certain activities, that they have this quality that they lose themselves. So they just sort of get so immersed into the moment that they lose themselves, and also because they have codependency a lot of the time, or they're a love addict, that they don't have a sense of self. Also in BPD, they might not have that sense of self to be that strong. So I think that's also connected to it, and sort of them wanting to disassociate from their pain. So that's also connected to it, and also not having that sort of like control, or just like all these rules and boundaries in which they operate. They don't really have that like other people do. So I think all of that makes them very attractive to people, and the fact that they might be good looking and attractive sort of just makes it worse in terms of being objectified, because you appear like beautiful to people, or they find you attractive in whatever way, shape, or form. So that really reinforces that idea that you're like, because you're objectified, you feel unlovable, and because you feel unlovable, you need someone to sort of validate it. And for me, like, today I want to hang out with someone, and my female friends are usually like, if we can fit you into our schedules, we will, but if we can't, we can't. But and people who actually you're like have a sort of sexual relationship or intimate relationship with, they're actually like, they kind of really look forward to meeting you, seeing you, for whatever reasons, maybe not for the right reasons, definitely not for the right reasons, but for someone who has BPD, it feels that that abandonment wound is being re-triggered by people who are actually not very interested in seeing you, and they are just kind of like, even when they make a plan, they just cancel it all the time, or they don't show up in time, or they're just doing something else when they're with you. So like my friend, like, the last time I hung out with her, she had like a 30-minute conversation on the phone with someone else that was just like a casual conversation, not something like really important or urgent about her kids that she needed to deal with. And that really triggered my abandonment, and because of that I sort of withdrew and started avoiding her. And then, you know, just all of this, it just really sort of society and the way sexuality and beauty are portrayed and perceived really reinforces that. It really reinforces that sexuality is so important, being attractive is so important, having this like crazy body is so important, and people are just like obsessed with this. They just want to go to the gym, they just want to like diet all the way to hell and back. And it just seems like it is very shame based. It's not coming from a place of like strength and looking good and being feeling great. It's more like this is the standard and I need to meet it, and if I fall short for like even a day by eating something that's not in my regimented diet, I'm gonna feel guilty. So that is there. And just like again, so yeah, so these people, when society objectifies them because of their looks or their sexual behavior or just like their ability to lose themselves in the moment, which like people really want, and the reason they're really jealous of it too, because they cannot do that a lot of the time, and that's why they need a lot of substances and stuff, and I could just do that like that without being on anything. So that is very natural for me, but for other people who are much more controlled, and that, so there is this sort of like dividing line between what Buddhism and boundaries do, and I'm kind of like going into that and seeing where I can find my way in that, because I don't believe that people can survive on their own. I know that I'm a love addict, and people who have this thing do have this kind of urge to go out and, you know, do all these things, this impulsive behavior, this addictive behavior. But at the same time, I do know that they have like great empathy, and there are a lot of people out there who are just like bashing BPD people, and I think they've just come out of those destructive, toxic relationships. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of good in these people. It's not really comparable to being a narc, because being a narc, they're like 100% towards winning this power, feeling in control at the cost of sort of making the other person feel bad. So it's more of a vindictive approach versus like a sort of like negligent one, which is that and I personally, I have not been a fan of lying in relationships. I have not done all these things that they say BPD people do, and I've seen like people who are normal per se, they lie a lot all the time actually. So I don't see how BPD people do it more. From the people I've been friends with, I don't see it. But let me know what you think about all of this. And I do think society reinforces that again, and it really makes it worse for people, because it sort of associates your primary value or your worth or your just everything with being attractive and the way you look. And it sort of, at the same time, when it does that, it sort of disregards, devalues everything else that you're about, by being like, okay, this one thing is the most important, regardless of who you are as a person, what you do, or whatever you think or believe, that's not important. So that is a very sort of detrimental thing for someone who has BPD and is living in this society where like all of this is going on, right? And it makes it really difficult to recover from it and not go back again and again to the same sort of equations and situations. So I hope that helps, and I will see you guys soon, and I'll let you know what I have planned for the following weeks. So take care, bye! And I'm gonna do a video on personality disorders very soon. So I hope you like it, and I'll see you!